Let's finish off with this. So this actually was the thumbnail of the show. We don't have too much time here. We're actually over where we usually go here. But where can PulseChain, we'll say the Pulse token anyway, and because everything is kind of liquidity bonded, the whole ecosystem, we're going to get to price-wise by the Bitcoin halving. And by that, we would say about May of 2024. The other day, Sami had a video. He was mentioning that if PulseChain followed HEX's kind of crazy patterns and how great it did, obviously, in the last cycle, we'd want to see an 18 to 20x by the halving. Now, that is, if my math is correct, only 4 or 5 months away. So that if you do the math on your portfolio and you just see how many months that is compared to what we've kind of been experiencing here for months, that seems like a complete impossibility. At this point, many people would be happy just to get like a 20x maybe by the end of the bull market on their whole portfolio. I've seen that sentiment out there from some people. So Ewok, what do you think I'm not going to ask you like this straight up chance, but I guess what's the probability you think that we could see this ecosystem go, I guess you wouldn't quite call that parabolic, but it's pretty damn good to start off the bull market and get to the halving point up 15 to 20x from here. Do you think something like that could happen? Or do you think we will continue this kind of slow slog that we've been on here?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but 20x is a 2000%, right? Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So that puts us at 0.001, which is only a 10x up from sacrifice. I don't think that's that unrealistic. Now, I'm sorry, not by the halving. I think we could get half of that. I think, I think you're looking, I think we could maybe 2x, 3x the sacrifice rate by that point. It's not that far away.
Right.
And, I think we still need some growth. I think we need to garner some attention from outside people. But when it starts, man, it runs. A lot of times it happens fast. So depending on, it could be the video yesterday from Richard could set off some crazy waves. That could be a catalyst that does take off. I think by March, April-ish, though, I think to anticipate being back to SAC level or 2x from there is healthy. Because we got a lot of time to go after that. We are a trailing market. Don't forget we move slower than what Bitcoin does, and after. So when Bitcoin makes its moves, we follow a trailing type of indicator type thing. So yeah, I mean, I would be happy just to get back to sacrifice by April. And you also have to realize that are people done selling? I think getting back to sacrifice, you may see some dumpers too. Unfortunately, that could slow down the process. It's not going to go straight up. We're going to want and need some healthy pullbacks when it does that. So who knows? I would love to be back to sacrifice by then, but even some say that's wishful thinking.
Well, hey, I mean, that'd be less than a 2x from here. And with what you were saying being like 2x or so above SAC rate, that would nearly be the all-time high. I mean, the all-time high for Pulse is what? 3 zeros and 2.5, right? I believe. So not too long after launch. So I think that's very realistic. And I mean, that right there would be what, like a 5x or something from where we're at even right now. So again, that 20x by the halving, that would be if we were going to see it play out like HEX, which at this point, not many people are calling for anymore. Wes got crypto. I think he's the only guy calling for it. But other than that, there's not too many people calling for those kind of numbers. Who knows? I mean, we could see it for sure. I would love it, obviously, more than anybody. But I think that we will see bullish action by then. And I think what you said is a pretty good target, Ewok. I mean, I would think that we would be above SAC rate by then. And I could see us up near all-time highs again, actually, for Pulse by that point. And you got to remember how long of a time that is, too. I mean, sometimes, we can sit here and say like, well, man, that's only 4 or 5 months. I mean, in crypto, that's the equivalent of, a couple of years
Right.
actually, and most
In the
markets.
traditional markets, yeah.
Yeah. So I could see it. I wouldn't go out there as far as saying a 20x by that time, but hey, we're going to see more and more publicity around this thing. We're going to see more people talking about this blockchain. So the Solana train is going to come to a screeching halt. We talked about that at the beginning of the show. And I could see some of those profits and people looking for the next wave to ride. Obviously, I think PulseChain has more staying power than just what the influencer of the week has to say about it. But I do think we will see people hop into that when they realize, like, oh, here's like a brand new L1 that hasn't pumped yet. And hey, we've talked about it before. We know all these guys have bags. I'm sure Coin Bureau's got bags. People who would never utter the word Richard Hart or PulseChain out of their mouths on your stream because they're usually bought and paid for by another company already. So,
Right.
yeah. So bullish times ahead either way. I mean, hey, we're finally here, guys, all year long. I literally remember our shows in January where you and I were arguing about whether the Bitcoin bottom was in yet or not. That was a mere 11 months ago. And now here we are, our final show. This would be the final show of the year, right? Yeah. Final show of the year. And this was an accumulation year. I mean, we saw things get pretty damn nasty, not as nasty as 2022, but pretty nasty, and are starting to recover now. And 2024 should be a good year. So who knows how good? Keep your head on a swivel. But I mean, I know your sentiment, Ewok, is probably similar to mine. I'm still just right now, as long as we are in these depressed range, any red cent that I can just market buy into this ecosystem is what I'm trying to do right now.
Yeah, it's definitely still accumulation. I don't think we've gotten out of that zone yet for any of the tokens in the RH space. I think it's definitely accumulation time for all of them. And you never know. Even I hate to tell people to buy incentive, but it could run too, and there is no OA. There's very limited supply. There's discussion of it eventually being some sort of DAO. With the right to vote on tokens that we could have on the PulseX farms and what's there. So, I think they're all very affordable. I think it's a good idea to accumulate what you can of each and try and bump up your league stance as well.